Awesome, bro. Well, first off, man, I just want to thank you, bro. Thank you so much, T-Money, bro, for making the time, reaching out to me. And I kind of wanted to hold back at the beginning with this whole project trail videos. Talk about California. I kind of like brace myself, bro. It's basically just so rich in culture. Obviously, like the home to gloving, where it originated, right? So, before we get into all that, please introduce yourself.
All right. My name's Anthony. I go by TMoney. My primary team is Puppet Masters, PM. Of course. Yeah. I'll probably a Q in there, whatever. I'm also on Tutting Movement, Concept Creators, Flowy and Techie. Those are my kind of like four main tags. And I'm like been on them all for a long, long time and was the captain of every single one.
Yeah, let's go. Did you say what year you started?
Oh, I mean, I could just go straight into my story if you want.
Yeah, let's go for it, dude.
So I think technically I got my first glove set in 2010. And that was like maybe middle of 2010. I got the OMG lights bit four modes. And those like to this day, I think that chip is one of the greatest chips, at least from my point of view.
Yeah.
Did you ever have the bit four modes?
I did not, and I've only seen OMG lights for like for a short instance. I actually don't hear them. I've never heard about them that much. So you mind kind of going into it?
Um, yeah, so maybe I'll start before that. I just want to
Okay.
like introduce myself. Like I think what I saw in the early days in 2010, it's kind of a lot different than people now. And even people, you talk to a lot of people that started 13, 14, 15
Yeah.
from different communities. I watched all those, which was
Yeah.
pretty interesting to me.
Yeah.
But I want to like kind of break it down how I saw it.
Yeah.
So,
Please.
so I'm from Oceanside, which is North County, San Diego. So the middle, like the main city of San Diego, is probably about no traffic, 40 to 50 minutes away. And then that's another like 40, 50 minutes to the border of Mexico.
Oh,
So I'm mainly here to talk about the San Diego community,
yeah.
which is the county of San Diego from Oceanside down to, I call it Chula Vista, which is kind of like the southern area of San Diego. But to get there, I think before 2012, 20 around that era, um, all of SoCal was kind of one. So as like a SoCal kid, side note, I kind of just did everything. This will like tie into things later. So I started out playing video games. I skateboarded for a long time. Really got into BMX, played guitar and other instruments, drums or whatever. So that kind of like led me into gloving. Like that's kind of like the dexterity there. You get that finger
Mm.
dexterity, acquainted with music. Um, I actually was exposed to gloving when I was in high school. So I was born in 92. So that makes me like 30, 31 now.
Yeah.
And back then, my circle of friends, I think the first person I saw gloving was probably in 2009. And at this time, I don't think gloving was like the thing. I don't think that was like a term for it. It was kind of just like throwing light shows, like literally throwing
Mm.
light shows, throwing glove light shows. Um, a lot of people you talk to, like Van Flo, talked about like poi and glow string and all that, but I was kind of transitioned straight from riding BMX and guitar into gloving.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And so my circle of friends, notable names now, probably I don't even know if people know these names, but uh, this first guy, I first saw this guy named John doing it with PM Shorty, and Shorty's like one of my best friends from high school. Like we hung out every day in high school, and then same with DK, who's also on PM, and a friend we named Kyle. Um, And pretty much they were already going to events in '08 or in 2009, late 2009, probably 2010. Um, I kind of got like secondhand experience of the rave scene because gloving was mostly from the rave scene. It kind of all meshed together for me, at least. But it was like the rave scene, and then gloving was like a part of it. So you'd hear about people going to raves. Um, there was a website called Plur Life and a website called MySpace. You probably know what MySpace is.
Yeah, yeah.
But on these web on like MySpace, for instance, you'd build your profile, and people would actually put like every event they went to in their profile.
Mm.
So you'd see like the names of all these events, and this was also on Plur Life. Plur Life was kind of like it was a forum, a message board where pretty much SoCal ravers came together. As I didn't really have a Plur Life, but I kind of just knew about it,
Mm.
and they'd talk about like what's going on. Um, there's a little bit of gloving there, people trying to meet people, trade things, items, talk about what events they're going to, what's coming up. Um, and those raves were kind of like this mythical thing as a high school kid, you know. But back then, all of this was actually all ages. A lot of it was all ages. So you'd see a lot of younger people. So this kind of connects. I think later we'll probably talk about the future of gloving. But at this point in time, there were 15, 16. There was a guy named Little Man, and I think he was like 12 years old doing light shows already. Like,
Yo.
rest in peace, Little Man.
Ooh.
But I'll throw out some names of like venues and events that'll probably catch the ears of old heads. There's a place called, I don't know if it's called like the Hudson in Gotham, and there's like the Fox Theater, and all of this isn't San Diego. This is in San Bernardino, the Inland Empire Riverside area, which is probably like an hour inland of LA. And this was like kind of like the main spot for raving and gloving, I feel like back in those days. So if you talk to people like Ice Cream Teddy, Dunzo, J Bake, uh, there's a lot of heads that aren't really like active now or even heard of, that if you go back into this time, you'll see their names on YouTube. I'll talk about that a little more
What
later.
city was that? What city was that again?
So this is Inland Empire San Bernardino.
Okay.
So this is 40, 40 minutes an hour from LA east. West Covina is kind of like between the Inland Empire and LA County, I think,
Okay.
or between Riverside and LA. I'm not like super familiar with everything in SoCal, so I'm going to scratch the surface with all that. This time, 2008 to 2010, I kind of like heard of because I was around after that and met a lot of those people.
Uh-huh.
But stuff like EDC, Audiotistic, Beyond, Nocturnal, those are like all the now they're Insomniac events. Audiotistic, all this stuff was like, I'm pretty sure it was like all ages, maybe 18 plus at one point
Man.
in those early days. But I think so. Glovers were a lot younger in these days.
Yeah.
The oldest Glovers were probably like 20s, mid 20s.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about like Ice Cream Teddy, J Bake, Lullaby, MoFlo. These are people that are only 2 to 5 years older than me,
Mhm.
and they're like kind of OG. And then those people will say there's people more OG than them, which is pretty crazy to me. um, but back in this day, you would see gloving primarily on YouTube. So you would go to somebody's YouTube page, and every video was like insert tags here: MM, uh, Shorty, Light Show, at In Focus Resurrection 2019. It was like very descriptive. And in the comment section, you'd see all these comments. And like, even if I go back now, I'll still recognize those names as some of them that are still around today.
You said 2019. Do you mean 2009?
2009.
Yeah.
It's
Gotcha.
a
No, you're
long,
good. I know,
it's a
bro.
long
I've
time
made
ago
them.
now.
I've made plenty of date mistakes. It's okay though. But
So everything I'm talking about now is '08 to 2010.
gotcha. Do that. Yeah,
Um,
man. I
if
was
I just like interrupt me anytime if you have any questions or clarifications, whatever.
No. Yeah, no. So yeah, actually I do. So 2008 to 2010. So you're a year older than and I graduated 2011. So I'm about like a freshman. Okay. So okay, I'm just trying to get a vibe of that timeline. So 2008 and you first saw a guy named John Okay, oh, this is one I wanted to kind of clarify. Um Plur Life was basically like a was a forum, almost kind of like a social media forum, but for ravers of all ages, right?
Yeah, just ravers.
Yeah, just like so. I'm not. Is it? It's kind of like the, I'm on the Discord, but you know how like Discord has like House of Plur. Are you familiar with that?
No.
No. Ah, damn. Okay. I was wanting to see if there were any like relationships between the people there and Plur Life because it basically just sounds like that, but on Discord. It's kind of bizarre to think that like light shows were on MySpace. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's so crazy to me, and I often forget like light shows.
So while we're on MySpace, can I just like go back onto the story real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so this is probably 2010, whatever, 9, 10. So me and my friends, Shorty, DK, and all these other people, a handful of other people, we all hung out at a skate park. It was kind of like new at the time. I remember when it was built. And then at some point, like we were the bikers, and then there was a group of skaters that were kind of like also like we became like really close homies. And then these skaters, we were like friends on MySpace. We were friends on MySpace with all of them. So I'd see like these skaters actually wearing Mind Melters shirts. So Mind Melters is an Oceanside gloving crew from 2010. Um, and there's like some names. It's like there's a lot of names people won't know: Madman, Blueberry, Crash, Kelso. But then there's names that people do. So these people, they probably like kind of dropped out of the scene, but some of them, Shorty was on Mind Melters, Deck was on Mind Melters, J Bake, Brain Wreck, Perps. Um, there's like a handful of these Glovers. Um, I remember on the YouTube videos, one of the, like I said, they're very descriptive. One of them was like X Glover, MMPM barbecue. So MM and PM were actually really close crews at this time. And in Mario's podcast thing, he talked about how SS was kind of like one of those crews where people jump up from SS to one of the bigger crews. Like a lot of them went to PM or LOL or whatever. And then MM was one of these crews. It was kind of like a stepping stone to get to PM at one
Oh,
point.
oh, you okay? So usually, um, whoever got an MM was kind of usually the they will later on go to PM.
It happened like that, but
I
it
see.
didn't. It wasn't like planned to happen like that.
I see. Yeah,
It was
I
kind
got
of
it.
like it was kind of like there were only a few crews back then. Like MM was like what I was familiar with because this was all the skater kids at the skate park, and then I saw them on MySpace, and they're posting up their Mind Melters pictures, throwing their light shows, and there was like a beef with one other San Diego crew that I heard about at that time. It was called Melty Brains, and this is a crew that Andrew Zhao Luce was on, and they had like some beef because they're like, "Oh, Melty Brains, Mind Melters, you guys are biting us,"
Oh my
and then that
god.
was like a thing, and then Melty Brains kind of like went away. But I think he said I asked Andrew, he just said that was like him and a few of his friends in the like San Diego area, a little south of us in Oceanside.
You know, that's really interesting. Like, where did the term like melting come from? You know?
Um, so something that a lot of doesn't really get hasn't gotten talked about. I don't know if you even want to talk about it. Is that the stigma of gloving, the relation between gloving and drugs,
Yeah.
and that's all part of the rave scene as a whole. So I think the melty part is just you just melt their faces. I mean,
Yeah, that
we were sitting
term.
there. Just a term for like the OGs is like people were on their Pokeballs, which is like
Yeah.
literally like, they had Pokeballs on them, and they're like, I remember one of the first events I went to, and like I don't know if it was 2010 or 11. It was an artist called Mustard Pimp. And I thought Mustard Pimp so sick, dude.
That is a sick name. Not gonna lie.
You should go back and listen to it sometime. But like the rave scene was like, oh, here's like regular people. There's like metal heads here. But I walked up and there's literally, I was probably like 18, 19 at the time. There's literally like 13, 14-year-old kids going like this, and their eyes are in the back of their heads, like freaking melting brains, like mind melters. Like,
Yeah, I wonder if that term though, if it came like before gloving, like if it was just a light show term that people would use.
yeah, so like I said, I came from like the skate
Yeah.
BMX, so I don't really know much about the previous like glow sticking. I know like people were doing their glow sticks.
Hmm. Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, and kind of going back to the whole mind melter thing, and it definitely makes a lot more sense now because all those guys that you mentioned, like Deck and um who else did you mention? They're all PM. Like I only know them being on PM.
Exactly. So I mentioned those people that they kind of like didn't go into the gloving scene when gloving became a thing.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, there's those people that they came to become PM and then known as PM people.
Gotcha, gotcha.
And then it's interesting because some of these people like Deck, Perps, all those like mind melters, I met them like way back in like 2005, 2006, just like going to random skate parks. So these are
Yeah.
people I knew before gloving, and there's just like circle of friends. They pick up the hobby, they go to raves together. We meet another circle of friends. It's just normal, like normal flow of life, really.
Yeah, and
But gloving was like a side thing. It wasn't like the main thing. Where
right.
people now, I feel like they might pick up gloving solo or like with a buddy, and then they kind of get right into the scene. We were kind of just like it was just a thing that was happening, and
Yeah,
we were just partying.
this brings me to a conversation that I had with Vex where he said that like the origins of gloving were very closely intertwined with those who were skating. So like it
Mm-hmm.
kind of like it just seems like this story just kind of matches up with that, and considering what I mean, like being a lot older, right? Just skating, gloving, going to raves. It just kind of just seemed like the natural, how do you say, crowd to kind of get into it, into rave culture
Yeah,
rather. Yeah, I see. I see.
they're kind of like skaters and bikers. They're like the like offshoot people of society. They're not like the mainstream. So raving kind of
Mhm.
like is a place where you fit in.
Yeah.
And like our generation too, we were great. We were raised on Rocket Power. Rocket Power was my shit back in the day. If you know what Rocket Power
I
is.
love Rocket Power, dude.
So it's like we picked up everything. Like one day I was like, back in the day, if gloving was around, it'd be on Rocket Power. Like it was one of those things that you did.
Dude, I made a Rocket Power meme with gloving a long time ago, but then
Yeah.
it's funny. Yeah, isn't that cartoon just it's is that in California? That's basically California, right? That's in
So
SoCal.
it's kind of like Santa Monica, but
Yeah.
it almost alludes to being in Oceanside with how close they
Mm,
talk about being to San Diego. So
mm,
Oceanside's like it's in between LA and San Diego.
I see. Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, okay.
But all those coastal towns, they're pretty similar.
Right.
Differences. And along with that, like the stigma and the kind of like the offbeat people of like being a skater. There's also like a lot of the people I met back then. The people they're the people in school that somehow their parents let them go to a rave or they ended up at a rave, so they're already like doing bad stuff a little more than probably just smoking weed or whatever. And then a lot of them they're raised in families where like their families are gangsters, like actual gangsters in SoCal. Like some of these people, like you'll see, they just look like some vatos, and then they bring out their lights, and you're like, what the
Huh.
hell? That guy's doing light. Like it wasn't weird back then, but now if you saw a vato doing light shows, you'd be like, what the heck?
Holy crap. Oh, that's really interesting. It kind of changes like the whole vibe of it, you know? Like the whole vibe of like beginning light shows, beginner or well, earlier light shows rather.
And this isn't like everything history. This is just how I experienced it
I
and saw
see.
it at the time. And
Right.
I wasn't like, I mean, I was a kid. I wasn't like honed in on let's document this for history.
Yeah, because you wouldn't it's just like a toy at that point, right? Just something fun to do.
Yeah, it was just what we were
Yeah.
doing. I mean, like one day, I think someone was like, go to rave, throw light shows. Bitches love light shows. And I was like, huh, okay, sure. I mean, it's not necessarily untrue.
Sorry, yeah, please continue.
um, so back then, I remember DK got his first set of like Liquid Emotions drops. So that was kind of
Oh,
like the light at the time,
yeah.
pre-bit. And that was like, me and my friends had a set, and it was like mix of like Max lights, Glove Max, dots, flash tips. Like these are like what the lights were called back then. And they were all just offshoot random companies. I don't think anybody was like, oh, this is for gloving or anything. Um,
Mm.
I kind of came into it like not the first wave, but maybe like second or third wave, I guess. But
Wave of like Glovers or like wave of like
yeah, wave of
I
glovers.
see. Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective think knowing that because um where would you put like Teddy on that wave? Like probably second, like realistically?
You'd have to talk to him about that.
Yeah.
He's before me. It kind of like for me, it kind of blurs with like uh, I'd say maybe Teddy came before J Bag, but there's people before Teddy.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
that's exactly why I mentioned second wave, knowing that there are people.
it's like when you're younger and it's like you have such a small amount of time to base your experience on that it
Mhm.
seems like a long time. That
Mm.
oh 08, oh, I don't even know what's happening, oh 06, oh 07, but oh 08, oh 09, 10, 11, 12, they're all kind of like the same but different at the same time. There's so much happened
I know what you
in this.
mean. I know what you mean for sure.
And
Because
this was
Hawaii is
also
very
like
similar.
tying in with the rave scene. It's like when we were in high school, oh 09, 10, we were listening to like first getting into EDM, and it was like Benny Benassi and Fuck the Mushroom. Rusko was like hot on the scene. That was like
Mhm.
dubsteps or origins right there.
Yeah.
Rusko and Flux Pavilion and those
Yeah.
people, class. It was like I remember when Skrillex Scary Monsters Nice Sprites came out,
Yeah.
and it was just like on YouTube, it was like 12th Planet drops this
Yeah.
song, and Skrillex wasn't even a thing yet. And that was crazy. But yeah, like OMG Lights was around back then. If you're wondering, Candy Creations, Liquid Emotions. I think there was something called Light Zombies, LED Kid, um, and these companies they mostly sold. They sold a few sets, but the focus was really on bulbs. So if you scrolled these sites, it'd be like people. It'd be pretty much this in the dark, but a picture of the trail of the lights,
Mhm.
and you'd see like, oh, they had a two color here, a three color here, a three color here, a two color here, one color here, and I was like, we'll name them. We'll have single bulb pictures, and that was like every light company at that time.
Yeah, and that's when I started. All right, new gen guys, if you're watching this, we had a very limited selection of colors. So you had to, oh, do I want this white and or do I want this white and purple? And you would see the little acronyms, right? And then you would remember the
Mm-hmm.
acronyms for every site. And then basically you would just take
AQWW.
and then you'd see some and like, wait, what is that one? And then what the one of the biggest difference, at least from what I seen from like a color standpoint, was like the whites on the bulbs were so much more nicer. So much more
Sometimes.
nicer. At least, I mean, the one that I saw, at least, all the whites just seem more nicer compared to like the
Dude.
programmables now.
Oh, okay. So looking back, they probably look great. At the time, I remember getting like a white or a purple, and they'd just be like offset. So you'd have these
Oh,
sets, and they'd have different purples and different whites.
yeah,
But they eventually got it down. We're like, "Oh, this is warm white. This is first gen. This is second gen. This is lavender now."
yeah.
I remember when they came out with it was always three color strobes back in the day,
Mhm.
and then there were two color strobes, and that was like the cool thing because now we're getting closer to the blinky lights. And then when the bit came out in 10 in 2010, now you're having four modes where you take a three colored bulb, and then the second mode it takes off a color. Now you have a two color bulb,
Mm,
and with a gap in there,
yeah.
and then you have the one
Customability.
color.
Yeah.
And then you
Oh
have
man.
the hyper strobe, and you're like, okay, now everything's getting crazy. And I was like, I think that was the first time I was like, oh, that, like, this is like a full set, and it's kind of like it was the first small light, first coin cell,
Mm.
and like back then, the buttons sucked, man.
Dude.
You, I was taking freaking like I'd take a battery pack, rip it up, stuff my lights with paper, and then I'd smash them in the
Oh
casing,
my.
and then you put them in your
Yeah.
head, and
Yeah.
it'd still be sitting there like click, 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 and they're not
Yeah.
turning on.
The very first light that I saw, my OG friend, who this is like before I am, like he did exactly that. He had the paper. He I think he was like it was like a liquid emotions, dots specifically. So yeah, like before, like again, to all the new generation guys, like there were some modifications that a lot of the glovers had to do back in the day just to even be able to glove properly, have a normal
Yeah,
setup. But it made sets so much. It made sets feel so much more valuable and special. Now you could just do whatever you want, but back then it felt very valuable to have this color bulb, especially for the guys in Hawaii, because the access to that kind of stuff is not like not very
oh yeah,
the access of it was very limited. So it was a very special time for
yeah.
creating sets back then. Yeah.
Well, even then, even now, you buy bulbs, and they're like still like this long, and you have to actually like cut the bulb.
Oh
You
my
have to put
god.
it in the bulb chip. You have to like bend it a certain way so that it's
Mhm.
still making contact. It was hard work.
Oh man.
And then I remember like even all the way back then, someone was like, "Oh, why don't you use black gloves?" And I was like, and somebody was like, "Well, the white it just makes your boxes look better, dude.
Mhm.
Like you get that reflect, get to see the white and makes your boxes or whatever."
Yeah, that's a bit, what company first started the black glove?
Dude, I have no idea.
Dude.
When we were back then, Walmart had white gloves, but so also with this the negative stigma, people were just stealing gloves. They're
Oh my
stealing
god.
iNovas. They're stealing
Yeah.
batteries.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's not surprising with like the type of people I'm talking about, like back then. Um, but yeah, they at one point they stopped selling white gloves and they gave us like the cream colored. Walmart only sells cream colored gloves, probably because of us.
Okay, so kind of, just before we kind of move forward here, so okay, so you basically had met at the skate park, multiple friends got together, right? And that was basically how you're into gloving, right? And that's just like one skate park. Do you know what I mean?
One skate park.
That's just one group. There's
That's
probably
one group.
this happening
Um,
all over the place, no?
it's happening. I know someone needs to tell the LA Inland Empire story because I don't have
Yeah.
that early knowledge.
Who would have
But
the yeah, who would be the best one to contact for that?
I mean, a lot of people aren't active right now, but maybe Teddy is
Yeah.
might be willing to do it. I don't know if he's down to talk.
Yeah.
I could think about it and let you know.
Okay, for sure, for sure. Yeah, cause like yeah, with the whole Cal, this is gonna have to be a series, bro. Like we just got one part, we got a crumb right now, so we're gonna have to do a whole thing. But hell yeah,
I
bro.
know. So
Okay.
on Plur Life, also intro into things later. What really caught everybody about Plur Life was there were photographers going around. So everybody be like, "Get a picture of us, get a picture of us." And I remember you'd see these pictures, and it's just like a group of people at an event. A lot of it'll say Plur Life at the bottom, who the photographer was, what the event was. So everything was really descriptive back in the day.
Yeah.
So you were really paying attention to what events people went to, who was there, what team they were on. You'd see them wearing gloves, a lot of them. Um, I actually remember in high school I saw on MySpace. I didn't even know him at the time. A guy named T Dunzo, and I was like, that guy's cool. He had like a Plur Life picture, and he was like
Yeah.
wearing like a he was wearing like some crazy glasses and like marijuana bandana. But the photos always stuck with me, and
Were
like
they trail shots?
there's some of them that, I mean, they're like
Yeah.
trails in the shots, but not like trail shots.
Got you.
And then so in Oceanside we had a couple events: Twarsted House, Snow Glow, and this is like kind of when I first got introduced to like the larger gloving community. So now people from PM came down, and like I kind of met like that was the first time I saw Ice Cream Teddy, Brainwreck. I got a light show from Brainwreck, and that was like he was like my favorite glover at the time. He was really ahead of his time, I would say. He had his very unique style, and kind of the light shows at that time were like the circle move had just come out. I learned that at the skate park. Like, um, I just remember everybody was like, "Oh, well, you just go like this." So mine Rump Melters were doing the circle move. Um, we had that post. We think that Stunna came up with it, and then Love Pig made a tutorial or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I met people at those shows in Oceanside at the end of 2010. So this is
Mm.
kind of like my intro to the rest of gloving.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
One,
That's how do I say? I
and I
kind
don't
of
know if it was called gloving at that time.
you don't know if what?
I don't know if it was called gloving at that time either. It
That's
was
so
just throwing light.
bizarre. That's bizarre to think about if it wasn't called gloving back time. Dude, that's crazy. So wait, 2010. Okay, 2010. Amazing Lights. I mean, yeah. Yeah, Amazing Lights was already a thing. They're
It was
already
pretty brand new. It was
it
pretty
was
brand new.
brand new. Yeah, because
The first boss was at the end of 2010
oh
that I could
wow.
see on their YouTube.
Yeah, first wow, you went deep. So yeah, that's your whole your introduction, meeting all these guys, and then here we are, 2010. It's crazy.
2000. So now we're going into 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2011, I started getting more into it. We were actually going to boss competitions pretty often. Gloving looked like it was the beginning of finger tuts, a lot of wave tutting.
Yeah.
It was starting to do like digits or like pass throughs,
Yeah.
a little bit of stacking. I think a lot of the stacking came from like moves like this.
Yeah.
Um, in 2011, I got on a TM, so that was like kind of like the beginning of TM
Mm.
was around there. Digit Mafia was around, but I
Oh
don't
wow.
think they were really like actually known for digits. It was just their name.
Yeah.
But iDigit was soon after that.
Okay, real quick
Started.
question. Real quick question, okay? Um did was TM an entirely separate entity at one point to PM, or like because you know it's pretty commonly known that once you're on PM, then you probably have an into TM or vice versa, right? At least from the outside perspective. So like I want to know, like, were they ever separate entities at a point?
It was always separate. It's even separate
Oh.
now.
Mm.
Um, over the years, a lot of people that were on like LOL, PLL, SS, whatever different crews, a lot of them actually migrated to PM. PM was kind of like,
Mm.
I could talk more about PM a little later, but
Yeah.
it was kind of like the center of everything. So if you're at
Yeah.
Amazing Lights, quite a few people, PM people work there. A lot of PM were judges.
Yeah.
Um, it's hard to even say. Like so many people came from different crews to get onto PM eventually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What about TM though? Who's
Oh,
like
so TM was everybody.
oh,
It was
I
like
see.
people with no crews. I had no crew. I was like I made a crew called
Oh.
GS, which is just like my really close homies. We didn't even all throw
Yeah.
light shows, but it was just like this is our homies. It's Galaxy Shredders. We just shred the galaxy. Like
Oh.
that was like kind of like back to Rocket Power. It's like we play
Yeah.
guitar, we shred cars, whatever.
Got you.
So I was just on TM at that point as
Oh,
like
okay.
a crew.
Yeah. Who's the
But
leader?
that was
Who's like the first leader, like first captain of TM?
I think J Bake and Dunzo
Oh,
started it.
got you,
But
got you.
like I said, a lot of people, LOL, people from PLL, Loki was on there. I have like I have like the OG list when it came out. Even like,
Yeah.
have you heard of like Ty Fingers?
Oh yeah. Wait,
At
what?
one point, he
Yeah.
had Ty Fingers on there. His like
Oh.
his most famous video, I'm pretty sure TM is tagged on like. I'll get to that in a little
Like
bit.
the bottle cap stuff for a little bit, right? It's like a bottle cap. Am I mistaking that?
I I'm pretty sure he did.
Cutting with the
The
little
first
bottle caps.
the first video I remember, he's in like a blue like Adidas jumpsuit
Mm.
on a piano, and he's like, and then he's like doing these crazy things he called finger connects. So
Yeah.
this, I guess we can go into this. So at this time with TM and like I'm kind of talking like gloving history right now, but it all has to. I think it has to be said and tied in. But so Ty Fingers was doing that crazy stuff in New York with Bones the Machine, and they had like Next Level Squad. And we where TM was at that point. I remember hanging out at the Amazing Store, and a lot of us, like Lullaby, J Bake, we're sharing all these dance videos of just tutting. I remember when there was a video with Strobe and Nemesis. That was like the dopest finger tutting video ever. I think it was called Digits. And he's like sitting in a car.
I've
Like
seen
I
that
could
one.
hear the
Yep.
music in my head. Like so that one and Ty Fingers, Bones the Machine has a lot of content that's like really beast. There's all these other offshoot dancers that they did tutting. But we kind of like hopped in on that and started like focusing on tutting and gloving.
Mhm.
And then that became the movement, the tutting movement.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, got you. Yeah, that's so cool how like closely related all these how do I say it kind of just gives me nostalgia because I had been seeing those videos as well. I know exactly the video that you're talking about. This is before the whole status silver thing, at least with Strobe and Nemesis, right? That was
That might have been like the first Status Silver
or
video or
sorry,
something.
that was before the whole finger circus thing.
Yeah, before
Yeah,
Finger Circuit.
yeah, bro. That's a freaking nostalgia bomb. So like, I think it would be really interesting too, like, because then like, so probably J Bacon, they were they in the tutting scene before gloving, or was it?
No.
Oh, okay. So they got into gloving and then they got into tutting. That's
So
interesting.
even in before that, 2009, 2010, everybody was already starting to incorporate wave tutting.
Yeah, that's really funny, bro. Because I did the same dive, and the earliest finger tutting that I could see that I could find on YouTube was Munch on Amazing Lights YouTube in 2010.
Mhm.
Munch.
Exactly.
But dude,
Yeah, I
okay.
remember Munch was killing it back then. I think he worked at Amazing probably.
Yeah. I think I seen that. Wasn't he weird? Like, wasn't he like a judge or something, or like he was emceeing? I forget.
Yeah, probably all of the above.
Man.
But yeah, so there's the Amazing Store. They did FNLs pretty often, like almost every week, I think. And then I think TNL might have been Thursday Night Lights, 18 plus or something. And
Oh,
then they had monthly Boss. They eventually opened up. They had three stores in SoCal, I think. Anaheim, West Covina, and something else. OMG Lights had a store. They did meetups. If you look back on the OMG Lights YouTube, all these people and all these companies, they all had YouTube. So it's really easy to look at the
mhm.
company YouTube, go to oldest, you can see all the crews that were around, the people that were around, glove sets. So OMG had a store. Um, so when I first went to Amazing, I was still seeing like it's funny that I think Artisan was talking about how there's like we're all like nerds or whatever. but I'm kind of showing you that it's like different.
Yeah.
So when I went to Amazing, it's kind of like not the nicest area.
Mm,
It's not middle class. It's kind of like sketchy ish,
mm,
at least from my point of view. So there was a lot of hood kids there, just
yeah.
like people just hanging around, or they're Glovers, but they just look like they're just kids from the hood,
Yeah.
grown up, like hard mentality, you know? So
Yeah.
it's like these people, like if you start a fight with them, like it's going down.
Right.
Like,
Right. Right.
and
Yeah.
it
No, it's just kind of funny. It's very contrasty to today's clothing, bro,
very,
because it's
very
a
much.
lot of nerd esque type geeks, right? Like very
Yeah.
there's a certain like look now, but then like at the origins, it honestly wasn't even like it was not like that, right, guys? Like what you said from the hood, and then so like I think that that you can kind of see that through the videos that Amazing Lights would put out, sort of kind of
Yeah.
that vibe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think
Definitely.
that's very important to mention. That's a great point to put out.
So along with that, so I'd say like this time, these stores, this is the beginning of modern gloving.
Yeah.
So now we're getting modern chips. Um, I started to see more less hood kids and more like people like Rhapsode and Fry were just like they just seem like good kids. And a lot of these people, they're still 15, 16, younger than definitely younger than 20 at this
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, and that's typically when most people would start it, right? That's typically, I mean, like at the, because it's so closely related to rave culture, that's usually when most people would start getting into gloving around that 20 21. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, even today. But
But the weird thing is seeing those 15, 16
yeah,
year olds, they're the future of gloving and they're still, some of them are still around.
right, right, right.
So around this time, a lot of teams were built. Uh, a lot of those. So there was the difference. There was like LOL, PM, uh, Mind Melters, PLL, SS, whatever, and these were your team. But then, so a lot of people, it's been talked about a lot in Glover's Lounge. You have to leave whatever crew to get on the other one. This is the
Yeah,
what
yeah.
is now called the legacy
The
teams.
legacy town. Yeah,
But at this time, there was also a lot of they started becoming called families coming. So that was like it was a mixture of skill tags and just like people that hung out. So it was like TM, ID, RBG was a big one. They had like probably the biggest gloving party ever. I'll leave that for somebody else to tell because I wasn't there. FML, Fuck, WTF, um, all kinds of different things. That at one point there's something called the Elites. Were you around for the Elites?
is that an EL thing?
The EL thing, and it was like they literally just got like the top 15 Glovers and put them on a team from like every team.
Interesting.
So that was a thing. There's like just party crews. Rave families were like before gloving teams. I think that kind of originated from rave families.
Yeah. So the TM, ID, RBG, FML, the fuck, WTF, elites, these were the original like type of skill tags.
They were just called families,
Oh, family
and they
teams. I
kind
see.
of like they kind of overlapped with skill tags.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That feels basically. I mean, when I'm comparing it to now, that kind of what it feels like as well, because it's like you never really hear the deep history like with like TM, right? You never really get to hear that side. Most people will see TM now, right, and they'll think, yeah, tutting movement, like it's a skill tag, but they don't really
Mm,
know anything about the deep history that it had, and it goes as far as back to some close
2011,
yeah
yeah.
to the almost yeah 2011. Like it's crazy to think that like yeah even you never get to hear any of these teams, and its deep history is basically all that I'm saying. Elite is a pretty funny one. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was a little later, maybe 13, 14, but it was funny.
So there are
Well,
legacy fams. I mean, legacy teams like LOL, PM, PLL, right? And then like then
yeah,
there are like the family. Would you put that in like a different bracket s type thing? I mean, obviously, yeah, AO's on. I would say is a legacy team as well.
yeah, AO was a team.
Yeah,
Um, so like people like Brainwreck went from Mind Melters to AO
mm,
to PM eventually,
AO to
or like
PM. Yeah.
Teddy, he was actually on PLL back in the day. And
Mm,
Teddy went from PLL to PM.
I see.
People like Snuggles and Jump, they came from Shapeshifters. Dazed came from Shapeshifters over to PM. Surge jumped up through all of them. AO, LOL, PM.
Is it because of the is it just more of like a like-minded individualness type of thing? Like it was just like more like that family team kind of matched your vibe because like it's kind of I mean I'm just going to be, like completely honest, like even nowadays um it's kind of weird now, right? It's kind of weird to quit team and then jump ship. Like most people nowadays, most clevers nowadays, when they hear that, it seems kind of weird, and you know what I mean, because they don't understand what it was like back then.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that like it was even more important back in the day?
It was just so small. I
Yeah,
mean, you've talked to all these communities, and they're like after this generation. They're all outside of SoCal.
yeah,
Like we were all one big family. Like
yeah.
essentially, like we all hung out. We all went to the same parties. We were all best friends. I mean, like all these families, they overlap. Like RBG was like people on all these different crews, PL, PM, PLO,
Right,
OLAO, whatever.
right, right,
Um,
right. There wasn't really any like. Was there really any like actual like tense rivalry between any of the teams? I'm sure there's got to be a couple.
um, not really. I mean,
Really?
like
Dang.
Kim and LOL, where they've been battling it out forever, but they've also been partying together forever,
Yeah,
and like
it's friendly
it was
rivalry.
like yeah, it was
Yeah.
like a lot of best friends. Like even back then, there's like I don't want to talk for LOL, but a lot of there were series of times when people would jump, multiple people would jump from like a team, and then they'd come to PM. Where like PM kind of became its own ecosystem. There's like 80 of us or
Mhm.
something. It's its own community, like
Wow.
as large as these other. You think of like an outstate community, it's way smaller than PM. Like at that
Yeah.
point, and PM had like people around them, like groupies that didn't even
Glove.
light show. They're just like hung
Listen.
out and did other stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just that whole like multiple teams having their own ecosystem. Like you got to see like all these teams, and I mean that's basically why California thrived. I mean, obviously because it originated from California, but then there's just so much to talk about when it comes to um all the teams, right? That like usually, I mean, well, I feel like all the other locations they got like one main team, and then like they got like a couple cities, but then like it almost kind of seems like one team is like a whole city, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
yeah, dude. It's very it's hard to imagine like how far would all these how far, because they're not actually, never mind, let me take that back, because it's not even the right question, because teams would be people would be moving from one team to another. Why do you think the mindset of having to drop one team for the other became a thing?
Um, I don't know. We were just battling
Yeah,
it out, and we had your pride for
it's a pride
who you're
thing.
with.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
if you're all hanging out with whoever's on the other team more, then you just well, I kind of fit more with them, so I'm gonna join their team.
Yeah.
And some of those teams, like I said, SS, and then there's other crews out there that don't exist anymore. That they were like stepping stones to get onto the big leagues.
Mhm. Well, could you say that like maybe some of the teams, like let's say SS for example, right? Because SS was a team that like, I mean, Hawaii loved SS. I'm just going to completely honest. If there's any team that like Hawaii sought like the style that people sought out after from Hawaii, it was SS, which is really, you know what I mean. You can see it in some of the old OG styles in Hawaii. But why do you think that like teams like SS weren't really kind of like how do you say, I don't, I have to choose my words properly. They weren't really like kind of like at the forefront of legacy teams compared to like let's say LOL or PM, because as an outsider, right, please correct me if I'm wrong, by the way, as an outsider, when I'm we got to witness the whole history of gloving through like Amazing Lights or all the people who post on Glover's Lounge or whatnot. It was always PM, it was always AO, it was always LOL, right? Do you think that there's a reason for why these teams in particular kind of shined more? Is it like a location thing, a geographical thing?
As far as I know, SS was pretty much like Wesco Vita based,
Mm,
but I think PM, AO, and LOL, PLL, they were just there before them.
I see.
Um, so if you look at SS, I think I don't know if I'm a lot of things. I don't know if I'm like super right or wrong on a lot of it, but I think it was started by Sammy Soros. Have you ever heard of Sammy Soros?
Yes, yes, yes.
So there's Sammy Soros and Snuggles. Snuggles came to PM. Days came to PM. Abstract went to AO, kind of like when SS was fizzling out at the time. Um, Physic kind of just went off and did his own thing. Um, they and Sammy kind of went off and did his own thing at one point, and then I think after that it was kind of just like nobody was really taking the reins
I
on
see. Yeah.
SS. I would have been down to be on SS honestly at that time because I was friends with Sammy Soros because he was on TM.
Yeah.
Walters was really cool. He's on SS. I don't know where he went. He's still around trying to do things.
Yeah.
Um, but it's kind of just like I'd say this like time 11 to 13 is kind of like what I consider like the renaissance of gloving, where
Yeah.
like you didn't really know where it was going to go. So
Mhm.
we were pushing tutting like us, the TM. People were pushing digits. Rockstar was like freaking. He was a rock star. His digits were out of this world. Loki was really dope with the digits.
Yeah.
Um, Everybody kind of dabbled with everything, but yeah, this time like a lot of these names. I'll name some names. Uh, Boomer, he did like a project video back
Oh,
then.
bro,
He was
dude.
pretty dope.
Yeah.
Um, AO Swan, I don't think he was on AO at the time. Boomer was on PM. Swan did this one thing that
The
everybody did.
Swanton. Yeah, this
They
thing.
did this
Yeah.
the biggest freaking whip into the tut.
Yeah.
Um, DB was really dope. Gambit was pushing tutting. Surge was there. Scraps. At this, I think this is kind of a time that we can start transitioning into San Diego. But
Yeah.
yeah, Physic was there. Cushman, Rhapsode, Thumper. He won AGC at one point.
Mhm.
Dazed. There was a guy named Prime. Mumbles was like this little kid, but he was already dope. So this is still 2011. They had those stores, but now there's another company called Crisp Lights. You probably haven't heard of. Thumper was on it,
No, I don't know.
but they eventually changed their name to Plur Lights, and they
Oh,
opened up a store in Chula Vista, which is southern San Diego. Um, Side note, just before this, I went to, so 2011 was like the beginning of competitions. I
yeah.
went to a competition in San Diego and I literally drove into like the hood and it was at some like 15-year-old kid's house. And I think me and Moflo, I met Moflo there and he was like, I already called him a grandpa back then because he was like 2 years older than me. He's like just the old cat. And then um, it was like literally little kids there, high school kids,
Yeah.
15, 16, 17, or 15, 16-year-old kids. Like, I'm just going to leave. So I like kind of just forfeited. but, but after that, this Plur Light store came around. I was on Mystery Lights. So
Yeah.
ran Flow, glazed over that. Mystery Lights was started by Brainwreck. J-Bake was really involved in helping Brainwreck with that. We had our own team. It was called the Mystery League. And there was a lot of Oceanside and San Diego Glovers.
Hmm.
Um, so by the time this Plur Lights came by, 2011 was a time for lanyards, man. Everybody had a lanyard. You had an OMG Lights lanyard, a Candy Creations lanyard, Amazing lanyard.
Yeah.
I had the Mystery Lights lanyard. There's the Crisp Lights lanyard. Everybody had a lanyard rocking whatever company you were. You might have had business cards that had your
Yeah.
code on it. Um,
Real quick,
yeah.
real quick, maybe you don't know this, but then Pluralight, because the whole Pluralights, Mystery Lights, I'd never heard of them prior to Van Flo talking about them. Were they get? Do you know if they were getting their lights through like Coin Pro? Like where were they getting the chips or the bulbs or whatever?
It had to be because
Yeah,
like, people talk about CoinPro, but I don't know if anybody actually shopped there. Mystery Lights, Mystery Lights, I don't even know what the first, they might have just sold bulbs at first.
I
But
see.
when the IMAX came out,
Mhm.
that was like the thing. The Micromax, IMAX, programmable. Oh, so they probably had Micromax bulb chips first.
I see.
But then I remember when the IMAX came out, and this was like the brightest light on the market, programmable. You could change the colors, and it was like the sickest thing ever.
I'm getting my lights mixed up. Were the Micromax and stuff? Were they SP1s and SP2s and shit?
So first there's the Micromax that's like they're like this big, and then the
Correct.
SP2s. I think those they might have been the Mini Max, so they
Oh,
got
okay.
smaller at the end of the lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you have if that's what you're talking about.
I think so. Those were dope, dude. Those were really good at the time. Yeah. Holy crap.
Yeah, so that probably the Mini Max SPs. Those are along the times of like when Amazing started having their programables, right?
Yeah. About right or like right before, right? Right before then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that was kind of like the end of Micromaxes.
Yeah.
Um, so Pluralights had that store. I don't even know what they sold. We'd literally go there and party. They had weekly light show things. It was run by a guy named Zero, and there was a guy named Jappy Chan. They didn't have good reputations in the community, but they had a store. Um, so now they had a series of competitions called Glove Fest, and there was four of them. So now we're in the San Diego. Now we're kind of entering where San Diego kind of becomes its own thing. And then that was around 2011 and 12, maybe
Oh,
late 11.
2011, 12. Okay, so I kind of want to just highlight on Love Fest like who were the big dogs at that time?
So I wrote here April. I only got results for two of them.
Sure.
April 2012, the winner was Gambit. He beat Eclipse, who's on EBBK. EBBK. So of the crews back then, EBBK was a San Diego-based crew. I look back in their history. Apparently, they go back to 2008. But
Whoa.
I met Moflo. Moflo's on EBBK. Chomps, he's on TM and EBBK. And then there's other names like people that are probably unknown now, like Eclipse, Scraps. He's on TM. He was on EBBK.
Wow.
There's a guy named Wildcard. He was doing impacts. He was on EBBK.
Oh, I was about to say
Yeah,
we totally didn't talk about TNT. Like TNT being like the other. Would you consider them like a legacy team, or would they be more like that
I mean,
still?
apparently they were around back then, but I never
Yeah.
really heard about them. Like
Interesting.
AO was at the forefront of the amazing stuff, and
Yeah.
then it was like PM and LOL PLL to me.
I got to get with one of them. Um.
So you got to talk to someone
Yeah.
on. You got to talk to Skittles. That's the guy for
Dude,
sure.
that guy
I
freaking
know
went
Corduroy
MIA,
was there
dude.
too. Oh, actually, I remember in the YouTube days, I remember seeing like TNT Musk, Corduroy.
Yes. 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 Yes.
I do remember those names being around, but I don't remember actually like seeing any of them.
Yeah. Interesting.
They're like, I didn't go to too many events back then.
Got you.
So October 2012, it was like a PM takeover, and it was J Bake. It was me and J Bake in the finals,
Uh,
and they're like, "You guys pick your song." So J Bake picked this song, and I was like, "I'm going to do whatever song J Bake did." And then
that's smart.
he beat me in that one. No, that was a bad idea because J Bake was just better.
Oh man. Wow.
Um,
Okay. Okay.
so at that time, there's a crew called LL, and these were like high school kids, light lovers.
2000.
Um, One of my buddies, Buzz, was on there. There's like Artistics. There's a guy named Mantis, uh, Perry, just random people. Nobody that's really around now. I think Buzz might have gone the farthest into the gloving community. He ended up on LA. Um, Random side thing. There was like freaking all these teams popping up, right? And at one
Mm.
point, everybody's like, "We're gonna make this team." I think RNG came first, and that was
Mm.
like the real N-word gloving. There's a bunch of black glovers. There's like the Raza team, a bunch of
Oh,
Mexican glovers.
yeah.
There's the T Trinity, and it was like all the Asian glovers. Side note, that was really
What?
funny
That
back
was
at
a
that time.
thing? Oh my god, that's crazy.
So like around that time, I met Freebie. He was on T, and Buzz. They were on T. It's really funny.
Mm.
Um, Freebie was on Mystery Lights, and a lot of these LL guys.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like back then you'd see like pictures of people, and they'd be like rocking their ML shirts, and I thought that was like really cool because
Mm.
I thought ML Mystery Lights had like a really sick logo. Apparently, I met a guy named Mojo there. He has like a viral video, and
Yeah.
he was a little kid at the time, so he wasn't
Yeah.
that good. So I probably just paid no attention. I had a little ego back then, but eventually he got really good. I think Krusty showed up to that back in the day,
Yeah.
but they were little kids. Like at Glove Fest, it was like little kids, and then there'd be like the LOL takeover, and like I met Kenai at the LOL takeover, and I thought he was like the dopest dude back then. K Woo was around, Glows, JJ, uh, other people, and then so those were those two in 2012. JBake won, Gambit won. Not
Yeah.
surprising, they were pretty big at the time.
So Pluralights
I think
really was like you said Pluralights was hosting all these things, right? Mystery Lights?
Pluralight. So
Oh.
these are two different things.
Oh, I
Mystery
see.
Light was Brainwreck in Oceanside,
Gotcha.
and then Pluralights was Zero in Chula Vista. So these are opposite ends of San Diego now.
Right. Oh, I see. And then Pluralights was hosting everything in San Diego.
Yeah, so they had a store.
Okay. And then wait, did was there the amazing store in San Diego?
No,
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. So Pluralights was a really big part of that scene back then.
yeah.
Yeah. Holy crap. Okay, what happened when they were gone? Like what happened to all the like these
Um, so we were like literally like at Pluralights, like drinking bottles in the back patio. So I'm not like surprised that they got closed down. There's definitely like underage drinking going down there and all
Oh
kinds of bad stuff.
shit.
So I think they probably didn't have sales and they just went under. And around that time, it was like we really melded with the SoCal. It was like kind of like a brief moment that SD had its moment, but also at the same time, there was a lot of events in SD like abstract. I love this city identity, and you'd go to these events and you would see like all the Glovers from SoCal. They'd show up.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like that disconnected from SoCal, even though we had like our little moment as a store, as gloving history. It was still kind of just like gloving was part of raving
Yeah.
or going to events.
How long was that whole because I noticed that the competitions you said they're all within 2012. Like how long did that moment happen? Like
They
that
probably closed
store.
early 2013,
So about
my guess.
a year or two, maybe it haven't
Yeah,
twelve.
1 to 2 years. They had
Hmm.
two different stores, so yeah,
Oh, they had two
a year or
stores.
two. Well, they had one store in Chula Vista, and then they moved
Oh,
closer to central San Diego. So they didn't have them at the same time. Just
how
they just
many
moved.
how many people would be at those meetups? How many Glovers?
I didn't really go to the like
Huh.
gloving meetups, but I'd say like from what I saw, 15 to 20.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
the competitions maybe 20 to 30.
30, 20 to 30. Okay. Yeah. That kind of paints the picture. Sounds like
So
Hawaii.
like I don't think like the real gloving community came down to Plur Lights. I
Hmm.
think that was just like a local community like that. LL. There was a couple other crews.
Mhm.
EBBK was there, and then there was like a crew called ITM and a group called Waze. That they're like small crews, but they hung out around at the store. I think.
I see. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. So Southern. Yeah. So yeah. When did? Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So I'm just trying to kind of regather here. So 2012. Okay, so there. What happened after this? What happened after? um Plural Life went down. Not Plural, was
So
it Lights?
apparently,
Sorry.
I think 2013, 14, I kind of like took end of 2013, I kind of like took a break from gloving.
Uh,
And somewhere in this time, we had a Facebook group in 2011 or 12, maybe. It's
oh,
called the San Diego Gloving Association. Apparently, Luce was the creator of that,
oh, I
but
see.
he also bowed out of the scene around 2012, I think,
Yeah,
from some drama.
yeah.
And then apparently SDSU Ambience started around that time too.
Oh man.
But, uh, really good thing for the gloving scene was Amazing got involved with colleges somehow. And
Yeah.
so Ambience was a thing. They had a chapter at SDSU, San Diego State, and UCSD, University of California, San Diego. Um, and this kind of leads into 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
There was a lot of events. A company called LED Events threw a lot of events called like Tramps Like Us, LED Anniversary, OMFG was their NYE event. Um, they allowed gloves at their events. I think someone said they might have gotten their gloves at an event in San Diego. It might have been one of those events.
That's cool.
Um, so they allowed gloves. They had face melt crew eventually going to those events. Um, if you look back in Glover's Lounge, you might find events where like, say there's like Krusty or me or somebody on like a stand, and then way back in the amphitheater, there's like a stage, and it's like this giant indoor amphitheater. But that was pretty popular for events. There's a place called Scream back then, or events called Scream, and they were like 16 plus raves. I never went, but I think Glover's met there and hung out. There was a venue called Somewhere Loud, and this was an event that like a couple of those older Glovers became DJs and they DJ'd at Somewhere Loud,
Mm.
and gloves were allowed there. So we had quite a few events, or quite a few like Glovers just gloving around there. Um, we had a World of Dance in San Diego. So this is really interesting. Amazing got in with World of Dance in 2013, and I don't even know who it was. Maybe someone on PM or
Yeah.
AO. They might have done. They did like an X. They did like a show. Like they like were dancer. We started like involving dancers, and so we were on the stage in front
Yeah.
of dancers gloving,
Yeah.
and like we were also just there in the booth, like selling lights and just hanging out and throwing light shows too, which was
What?
like a really interesting thing.
Yeah. Was did like were there who were okay? You said that we performed for World of Dance, right? Like,
Glover's did, yeah.
yeah. Is it like on stage where the Glovers are doing full body choreo, or like what was that? Do you know? Have you seen
Dude, I
those?
think that, yeah, you could probably look it up. It might have been Gummy, honestly, Gummy and somebody
Yeah.
else. But they performed, like two people did like whatever show on a full body, maybe, or just like, I don't even know what it was. I don't, I was probably drunk. I was drinking a lot in that
Yeah.
time.
It's really interesting that Amazing made ambience, like they got ambience into being a thing. Like I almost kind of wanna. I feel like that's like a whole entire. I remember ambience was a huge thing. It was like people got into gloving because of ambience. I seen the post in the San Diego group, right? Or like not the old one, but the new one, or
Mhm.
relatively new, right? So I seen that people got introduced to gloving through ambience. I'm almost I'm really curious on like what the goal how did they do that, and like what the goal was. You think like Amazing's like trying to make do like scholarships or something, like trying to like do scholarships, in the future or something.
I mean, I'm sure they're just trying to make
Genius.
money.
It's or yeah, right. They're just trying to make yeah. Can we have like this gloving program in the colleges and you guys sell our shit? No, but I think it's low key really really smart because like that's the age where people get into gloving, right? Um, you never got into the whole ambience thing.
So like I said, 13 or 14, I was kind of like on a break.
Yeah, that's right.
And then I went to an event, and I wasn't like really on a break from like gloving, just so much like the scene, I guess.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a long break then, but it's probably not even a year. But
Mm.
at one point, I was just at school because I was going to SDSU at the time. I went to SDSU 2010 to 2015, I think.
Uh-huh.
And I was just hanging out with slackliners, like just hanging out slacklining. And I think I might have been like doing some finger rolls or something. And somehow Brandon Blunt came up to me
Yeah.
and we just started like chatting. And then we ended up like skating to his house and trading light shows. I was like, oh yeah, I used to be like really into gloving. And then like after that, I kind of just like got back into it and
Mm.
I started going to ambience meetings. And then that was like the starter was Diana Raha, maybe her boyfriend Ryan. And there was people like a guy named Blue was there. He's like really like all these glovers. Like I thought Blunt was like a crappy glover at the time, and like all these glovers I met, but they all like came up and became like really beast. So
Yeah.
there's like Blunt, Blue, Krusty was there, Tangles, Japanese guy. So Blue, he had like viral videos on Glover's Lounge or like pet peeves or something, and he makes like funny. He made like a couple funny videos with 500 plus likes or something like that.
What?
Like big black dude.
Oh,
Tangles, he went on. He went on
Marquise,
Marquise.
Marquise.
Marquise Blue, yeah.
I remember that guy, bro. That guy was so funny.
But
Holy
his
crap.
light shows were freaking crazy dope.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
at
yeah.
188.
Oh my
There was a guy
god.
named Kiyoshi that was really close with Krusty.
Yeah.
He's from Japan. He had a viral video that was like, "Oh, this is a Glover in Japan." He had a viral video.
An actual Glover from Japan.
There was a guy named these guys Nesquik and Shakes. They got really good. They're on Fat. I'll get to Fat in a little bit. Link
Yeah.
was there. Link's been around for a bit, but that was kind of like where I met him. There was a guy named Vivid Cloud. He was an interesting character. Effects, a guy named Morty. Um, Freebie was there. The guy we called Giga Narbage. Funny name. Yeah, all these guys. I like was coming back into the gloving scene. And I was kind of like my ego. That was when my ego kind of started to fade. And I like at this point they were running ambience already. But now when I came in, I started inviting like the rest of the rest of the world. Like
Hmm.
I would say I started to like kind of blow it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, so I at one point I started making the group pages, event pages, um, with Diana's permission or whatever. I had like I think one time I planned like a TM takeover and I
Yeah.
brought in like Gambit and Dunzo, AO Juggernaut was there, J Bake, um, Lust was there randomly.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh.
so we would literally meet on campus. A lot of times we go to a girl named Frida's house and we'd have like an after party. At Ambience, these were like, I named like the Glovers, but there was also like twice as many just like flow artists or other like just friends hanging out
Wow.
too. Um, Chicago came to visit once, Door and Delic. You guys talked about them
Yeah.
from
Through
Lit.
was this through ambience?
I think it was just through friends.
I see.
They made him talk to Link or somebody else there. Everybody was kind of doing their own thing still. I don't want to take credit for like doing a lot, but I think I'd say I'd helped bridge like the generational gap between like the rest of SoCal gloving and San Diego. Because like I said,
Yeah.
ambience, I didn't see there weren't any big name glovers there or anything. Um, Link met up with Bleak. I guess he knew him from elementary school, so that might have been like one instance where they knew somebody that was like kind of like a bigger glover.
Mhm.
Leak was a Glover. He was on PM, but he was up north.
I think I met him. I think I met him when I came down once. Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised. He was pretty present.
How often were the meetups for ambience?
Ambience was every week,
Shoot. Wow.
and it was yeah pretty lit. Like always, 10, 15, 20 people.
Wow. It's nice because there's like a controlled environment where anybody can just go meet on campus. Were they outside? Were they inside?
We had a classroom.
That's cool.
At one point, we got the music room, which was really big,
Yeah.
and then that kind of ended.
How long was that for? How long did ambience last?
Um, Well, apparently Diana made the group in 2011, and then I didn't get in there until 2013.
Wow.
And apparently there was an ambience competition then,
Yeah.
but I don't know if anyone came out in 2013. 2014, there was another ambience competition. There's probably not a lot of footage. I took a bunch of pictures because, like
Mm.
I said, Blur Life days and just beyond, I always thought the pictures were so cool. So
Yeah.
we have pictures of like Johnny Blaze. I met Johnny Blaze at Ambience. I literally walked in the classroom one day and I was like, "Yo, that Glover is way better than everybody here. Like, who's that?"
Hey, you gotta talk about Johnny Blaze, bro. I talked about Johnny Blaze at the iceberg stream.
I know. I was like, why is Johnny Blaze on the?
Basically, yeah. You want to talk about Johnny Blaze? Basically, yeah. You talk about Johnny Blaze.
Well, I didn't know who he was, so I thought
Oh,
like, oh, this guy's like really beast. And then I traded with him. He was really cool. We met up. I think we were just like hanging out like normal. We're just normal people.
yeah.
Lovers are normal people. We like went to the top of a mountain, did some finger shows. I have like some pictures of him. Throughout this time, a lot of us we like ate together, so that's like a big thing in San Diego. Is like we eventually formed Fat, so that was a thing between Link and Johnny Blaze. I guess people used to call him Fat for whatever reason, even though he's not. And then we all kind of jumped into this crew, like all those people I named. So if you look up Fat, Floaty,
Yeah.
and Techie, there was a long there was like a month of like we kind of like opened up tryouts and people were like doing finger shows with food on Glover's Lounge. So that was like a thing for a little bit, and that was like kind of worldwide, but eventually just shrunk down to like just the San Diego homies.
got you. So Johnny Blaze, just to kind of like just go over that real quick, at least from my point of view, Johnny Blaze was like the gold standard for where 6 month Glover is. You know what I mean? He was like really good for 6 months, and that was like the thing. Like he was like a prodigy,
Yeah,
and
he was really good.
never really after that he kind of just disappeared.
Um, he was still around, like in the
Mhm.
scene of San Diego,
Yeah,
and then yeah, he kind of did disappear. He got far enough to get onto PLL, which I mean, people probably don't think that's like a huge thing, but it's kind of a big thing to get
yeah,
on one of these
yeah,
legacy fans because they really get screwed.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we never really like formed like crazy teams other than Fat. A lot of people went to like Tingles went to PLL, Krusty went to PLL, Link is on PLL, Freebie ended up on Lords of Light, MoFlo ended up on Lords of Light. Um, I'm on PM. I never recruited them for PM. They weren't. I didn't think. I think it was like kind of separate for me.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that that kind of like that actually clears some things up as far as my perspective on the cats in California, because I've gone to LA, right, and I've gone to San Diego, and then there's guys like Blunt, but then you wouldn't necessarily see guys like Blunt be around like the AO guys or the PM guys. I never really knew the difference between who was hanging out with who, or like guys like Clumsy or like Pinky, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
so like yeah, okay, that kind of just makes some that clears a lot of like uh who where the inner circles were. You know what I mean?
Jake was at Ambience too, and he was already doing like crazy pass through tutting,
Yeah.
which was really mind blowing at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Like from my point of view, I look at people and kind of see, like I could put in my mind, I could see this person hanging out with this person,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna put him on PM,
Right.
or like I could see them in like certain situations hanging out, but it's like I kind of like had a, I thought I had a good view of like how everybody was,
Yeah.
like their personalities
Yeah.
and who would mesh well with who.
Yeah.
So like after
Absolutely.
after that initial renaissance, now people this is when you fill in all the other communities you've talked about where it's like they're not really the same type of people joining gloving now.
Yeah,
Like
there's diff
this is literally ambience, which is a college club. So these are college kids. Not all of them. Some of them they come from wherever, but some of them are college kids. They're kind of like, I wouldn't say a lot of the people I hung out with and at the Amazing Store before I went to college. It's
Yeah.
just a different type of people, you know.
Dude, that part, this part of the conversation actually makes me feel very depressed because like there's so many different people from different walks of life who get into gloving. I mean, there were at the whole what was it? The whole glove fest thing. You said that there were literally like kids under like 16 or 15 who gets into gloving. You've got college kids getting into gloving. You've got people in the hood getting into gloving. Like so much people get into gloving, and like it's not fair to say that certain types of people get into gloving, and because a lot of people, right, they also associate gloving with just like this particular person, this particularly looking person who's probably fucked up on drugs or who's probably at a rave, you know what I mean? And people don't get to hear this side of the story often, where this was a freaking college club, bro, and people went to
Club.
college. It was like a serious thing. There's a social aspect to it, no matter where you are, no matter what, um, no matter where you came from. I mean, fuck, we got guys out in Hawaii meeting up. You guys out in San Diego from all, it's just it's it. I just get so depressed, thinking about it because it feels like we've been how do you say, the whole glove ban thing stopped the whole momentum, and the whole stigma just kind of took over, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say it was wrong or right. When I was like in 2010, it was crazy, man. There was a thing. It was called like.
Yeah, I
So
think we
I
can.
remember back in 2010, there was a video on YouTube. It was called EDC Madness, and it was literally like there's a fence, a little opening in the fence at EDC, and people were charging it,
Mm,
trying to freaking fit in there. People were hopping the fence to go down to the lower area because it was closed off, I think. And people were getting stomped on. People were getting hurt. Like sitting on the floor at venues or was and being dangerous was really a thing. I think.
yeah,
Like people were getting hurt at raves, so I'm pretty sure it was just part of mitigating that. But
and it
I
had
mean,
nothing to do with
there's a
gloving.
future. Maybe I don't think it did have anything to do with Columbia
The,
personally,
the whole glove ban thing, yeah.
but
Yeah, that was such a big thing that just kind of stunted the whole. I genuinely think that maybe, I we if that didn't happen, then maybe gloving would have been um a bigger art form than what it is now. I wholeheartedly believe this. Like if it weren't as like stigmatized, or like if there were no ban, like I just see the whole amazing thing taking off. You know what I mean? Like I just see the whole thing. I don't know. I don't know. That's what I
I don't
want to
know.
believe. That's what I want to
I don't
believe.
know. Couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
It was pretty brutal. I mean, have you ever been tackled at a event giving a light show or like anything happened to you?
You mean like getting the gloves taken away and stuff?
Anything? Yeah.
I've it's funny. I did there was a Hawaii event. Typically Hawaii doesn't have this problem, but there was a Hawaii event where they were telling people you can't be doing that. But it was only like one event. I have not gotten my I've gotten my gloves taken away at EDC at the check-in because, long story short, um the uh the shuttles went to the wrong entrance, and I took my gloves out prior and I got it taken away. But other than that, then I've never been like pushed down, or you know what I mean, from any other event. Never been like
Yeah.
assaulted or
So,
anything.
so when I think about gloving at a lot of those events, like the main events, like Insomniac events or whatever, it's like, okay, I'm going to give a light show. Watch out. And then people might crowd around me.
Hmm.
Something might happen. Um, and then it's like, okay, this time was fine. And then another time you might see like somebody gloving and the security, like my girlfriend was giving a light show and the security literally pulled the glove off her hand. And then some sus stuff was happening around us. And then it became a madhouse. Everybody's running around trying to like stuff happens. And then like all of a sudden gloves are missing and people
Mm.
are running around and security's calling each other. And like in other cases, someone might get tackled. Like it
Yeah.
was really like, okay, watch out, we're gonna glove, and it was like a sus thing to do. And then while you can't say that glovers aren't doing sus things around people giving light shows, but also you can't say that ravers aren't doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a connection, it's kind of not, but it really felt like people are looking at you gloving and trying to again take your gloves, and it's not fun.
Yeah, bro. And you know, it's just weird, bro, because over here you don't you for the most part 99% of the time you don't get that, you know?
I don't think it's really like that anymore. I think that was
It
just like
isn't.
a few years that was like
Yeah.
that.
I agree. 100%. Did you see the ban on the I mean the lift on some of the lift on the ban on some of the Insomniac posters?
I did. Did they say that we lifted the ban, or is it just like,
Not no, it just said that you can bring gloves or something like that.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool,
Yeah.
super dope.
It's a change small.
It's dope. Uh, raving was different back then. Raving is different now. Like over the years, it's changed a lot.
Yeah. It
Like
has.
back in the day, you go to EDC for 20, $30. It was all ages. You could get a ticket at the door. Like,
That's crazy to think about, dude. Those tickets are like a grand now or something?
well,
Bro.
it was a one stage. Oh, well, sometimes there was multiple stages, but yeah, it was a lot cheaper back then.
Way different time.
And even back then, like to include to go with these like just like personalities of people in gloving, a lot of people were sneaking into events too,
Yeah.
like just straight up like hopping fences or running in, like crazy stuff is happening.
Oh man. But okay, just to kind of get back on track with San Diego's scene. Do you have so Diana, is she still active?
I mean, a lot of people I talk about, like I still like interact with them
Yeah.
outside of gloving. Like she's on the
Oh,
internet
yeah.
for sure. She pops into the internet sometimes.
Yeah. It'd be cool getting in touch with her one day. Maybe
Yeah,
if you talk to
for
her.
sure.
Yeah, I would love to talk
Yeah.
more about the whole ambience and how that ran. How many ambience meetings did you because you didn't go to all of them, did you?
Um, like I said, she started it, and like years later, I came in
Oh,
maybe
that's
a year
right.
later.
That's right.
Uh, eventually, they had two competitions total. The second one, the prize was actually the kinetic glove set. So at one of these ambients, we had a lot of bonfires.
Yeah.
This guy named Pavel came by, and he was like, I don't know, he had some relationship with Futuristic Lights, and
Okay.
we were like some of the first people to try out the kinetics, and those were like
Yeah.
the first accelerometer chip.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that was a prize at that ambience competition in 2014.
Oh, that was a
Krusty
prize?
beat Krusty beat Six Shot in the finals.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty huge deal, no? Six Shot being PM and Krusty just being
Yeah.
this guy
So
from.
at this point, Krusty started gaining traction. He got really big, ended up becoming a sponsor, and
Yeah.
his flow is very unique. And if you just see the Krusty flow, you know what the Krusty flow is.
Yeah.
Uh,
you gotta know that Krusty Flow. No, many people don't know that Krusty Flow nowadays, you know? Used to
yeah.
be
So
such a
us,
thing.
yeah, yeah. Uh, unfortunately, he's not super into it now. He's just working on himself.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he was one of the first people that he was really into recording.
Mm.
So he had the perfect GoPro setup every time. He knew where to position everything. He had a tripod. Like, I don't know if you remember the Crusty videos back then, but they were
I
always
do.
like on point. Like,
I do. I remember.
um,
Yeah. The lighting was good.
as far as like, yeah, this is like the beginning of like online gloving kind of got better. Like,
Yeah.
instead of having all these overhead light shows, people started gloving to the camera.
Yeah.
Uh, like it got like really, it started before this, but this is kind of like everybody started getting GoPros at this point, I think.
Yes, yes, the whole freaking GoPro wave, bro. I remember, dude. I mean, it was around like probably 2014 was when it actually started. But then, like, by the time it was, yeah, yeah, this is 2000. We're talking about 2014, yeah, because that's when I first got mine, bro. I was like,
Yeah.
everyone's getting GoPro, dude. That was the move, especially with the fisheye. Yeah, that's a really interesting timeline. I never really thought about like when like the online gloving like meta started to become a thing.
Yeah,
but yeah, people started putting more effort into their light show videos at around this time for sure. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
The Amazing kind of already peaked at all this stuff like fish eyes and all that, but like right
Yeah.
now is like this time kind of ciphers became big.
Yeah.
Like The Amazing did some like synergy videos and like whatever small cipher videos. AO did some, but I feel like around this time was like everybody was trying to get into ciphers
Mhm.
and finger show ciphers and uh, making their own gloving pages now. YouTube is dead at this point. Glover's Lounge kind of took over in 2011, 12.
Yeah.
Uh, and that was really just SoCal at one point. Just Glover's Lounge. I remember when it was, I got in there and I was like, oh, what's this? To Lullaby. And he's like, it's a place for Glovers to hit. And then everything from there. Uh, all the written history is in Glover's Lounge.
Yeah, dude. Glitter's Lounge is basically the 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 the, the main library. And I always thought about this where like, I always thought even when I started, I was like, oh, why doesn't like California have their own gloving page? But that's the Glover's Lounge. You know what I mean? It's just that what was Glover's Lounge was about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think at this point, we had the ambience and then the UCSD ambience. When I brought them together, 2016 is when GGN started,
Hmm.
and then I kind of like solidified myself as like the leader there. But that's a little
Yeah.
jump ahead. So we'll go back. So yeah, there's the ambiences. 2015, I feel like a lot of chips and stuff were coming out. So now we're getting into the E-Light era,
Yeah.
elements and all that. OSM was around that time, futuristic. This was like kind of the beginning of online competition too. That kind of was like hand in hand with the GoPro era. I feel like this time, 2014, 2015 was like, now we're going to do online competitions for whatever reason.
Do you remember like the first like online like the first official online gloving competition?
I don't. I remember GMO has been talked about.
Yeah,
It was pretty early back then.
I think there was some before though. There no
I'm
wasn't
sure
there
there
like
were.
fuck battles and shit. You remember fuck battles?
I don't know if that's a competition.
Is it? Or there
I
were
know.
just
I remember in 2012 there was a open PM tryout competition at the Amazing Lights store,
oh shit.
and Gambit won and got on PM. And I didn't
Oh,
even compete. I was like, oh, whatever. I'm just here with my friends.
yeah. I
Uh,
love Gambit, bro. Like I don't like when I first met the guys from Amazing, like Gambit was there and he was just like so fun to be around. Nicest guy too.
he's so friendly
He's
and he's
super friendly.
hilarious.
Do
He's
you know
fixed my
where he's
parents'
at?
garage a couple times.
Do you know where he's at?
I don't know. As far as I know, he moved to Washington and then
Oh,
kind of just been laying low.
interesting.
I don't think anyone's really heard from him.
Yeah.
He used to come out a lot to San Diego stuff. He lived in Oceanside a long time, so around Shorty's house, as far as Oceanside is
Mhm.
concerned, I feel like J Bake was like best friends with Shorty, Deck, and all those people from PM. Uh, Toasty, well, Toasty didn't really hang out, but that's a side note. Oceanside has its own thing. That's where I hung out. I'm from, but we mostly cruised around to LA, and then Empire to party. Um, Around that time, 14, 15, a guy named Ghost popped up online. He was from Oceanside. I
Oh,
don't think, yeah, I don't know if he really even like hung out with a lot of Glovers,
you talking about
but he was
Gabe?
Gabe. He was a
Yeah,
sensation online.
he still
Everybody knows
is. He still
Ghost.
is.
He's from Oceanside, kind of from a distance. He's in the younger generation.
Mhm.
Um, so after Ambience stopped, me and my buddy Freddie, uh, he is a dance teacher and taught at a place called Culture Shock, which is a dance studio. And they actually allowed us to do our Thursday night lights there for a while.
Mm.
So there were some big meetups at a dance studio that was really cool. Um, like I said, around that time after World of Dance, we kind of tried to intermingle dancing a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, as you know, like all that, they started having Amazing had some videos with like J Funk
Yeah.
and Finger Circus, and I think the Dark Matter Squad or the dudes in Japan picked up gloves for a video or something.
Oh,
Um, so we kind of intermingled with the dance community a little bit. So we were going to take that as maybe do gloving classes at a dance studio. It never happened for us. Didn't really get big enough, I don't think. But at one of those TNLs, Pinky unleashed the flower dial, and I was mind blown. So it was like the beginning of clusters in
what year was this?
2015. He went
2015.
like this, and he was like doing like different clusters like this with like a flower.
Yeah.
And this is in 2015. Um, that was completely new at the time. Clusters weren't a thing. It was kind of like the move from stacking and digits
Yeah.
into, I think the flower dial was, or flower cluster was like the beginning of clusters, at least from what I saw.
Yeah, Piggy's an interesting one because you'd often see him here and there, but like he was on the San Diego side, right? He's on the San Diego side, but you don't really see
Yeah.
him. You would see him on GL with his whole uh concept videos, usually sometimes with Ash. But then like I
He was
never really
around for a while. And
yeah.
then I started hanging out with him with Ambience. And then after this flower dial is when Clumsy kind of came into the scene. And then they were hanging out and doing their thing after that. And then
Yeah.
Pinky became kind of more like a staple in the gloving community following that.
Yeah. I don't think
Because
he
he's a
gets
beast.
as I don't think he gets as much recognition as he deserves.
Uh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Uh, he was big on in CC. Ion was like a new thing back
Oh,
then.
Ion.
Ion was a really dope crew. Krusty was
Yeah.
on Ion. Pinky Gambit was on there. As far as the San Diego side, I know there's a lot of beasts on there, like R Dub. I think Outlaw might have been on there.
Vex was on
Uh,
there.
Vex, like
Yeah.
a lot of beasts were on Ion.
So much talented people on Ion, bro. It was like the probably I mean, I don't know, bro. It might be a tough call, but then like I think like in terms of like super teams, that's probably the super team if there ever was one, like worldwide super team. That team. Right.
They're a super team for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
Um, so yeah, that's 2015. Uh, a lot of parties, a lot of ciphers, just hanging out and doing. We did that ambience to culture shock, and then it kind of like happened that GGN was popping up right after that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I made the G. J-Bake actually made a San Diego group at one point. He never. I don't think he even like invited people,
Mm.
but I was in it, and then Krusty asked me to do GGN with him because he was probably just doing his sponsor stuff.
Yeah.
So I just kind of commandeered that group, DGAF, Dago Glovers or Fire,
Yeah.
and that's the current San Diego group. This is 2016 ish. GGN was popping up really quickly. They're just amazing, giving us free stuff.
So would you say that the DGAF was a product of the GGN program?
DGAF, I have a feeling that Amazing was talking about stuff, and JBake was. I don't know if he was a sponsor at the time, but he was associated with them.
Yeah.
And then he made a group for whatever reason. I can only imagine that Amazing talked to him about it. And then
Interesting.
when GGN happened is when I kind of turned that into the GGN.
Oh, I see. And the official GGN leaders, the global gloving networking leaders for network, yeah, leaders for those of you who don't know, um, was basically this program that Amazing had where they basically give free stuff to all the communities, and there were people selected to pretty much spearhead the communities, and you're one of them. You were the official GGN leader for SD.
Me and Krusty,
You
yeah.
and Krusty. That's right. Got it. Got it. Okay. Okay.
I think Krusty did the same thing you did, where he was just like the sponsor and then kind of uploaded the duty to me.
Yeah, I
But
see.
honestly, I don't want to take credit for much because all I did was make an event page every single week.
Right.
And I showed up, and the same people showed up and always show up on their own. We always had 10 plus to 60, up to 60, 70 people sometimes
Yeah.
showing up. We are just drinking in the park, smoking, and throwing light shows, listening to music.
And basically that's basically what you needed to do, right? Just make an event page and just show up. That's basically, nothing. Some people, some leaders, did more. Some people just did that, and I think that's perfectly fine. Did you guys have the what was it, bro? I don't remember if this was a Hawaii thing. Club glove. Do you remember that?
That does like tickle my brain, but I don't remember what it was.
I think it was like if your gloving community could get into clubs for free as per
We
you being
definitely
leader or
didn't.
some shit.
I don't know if we actually like I didn't participate in any of that, so I don't
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Dang.
know. Cool moment at that time. We went to a show called Infinity New Year's Eve, and Teddy came down and he brought Peanut and Era, who are part of Finger Circus.
What?
I traded light shows with Era. That was hella dope.
Light shows? He gave a light show? Oh, that's
He gave
sick.
me a light show.
Dang, bro.
Yeah, that was really dope.
Yeah.
Um, kind of. So we went to the park. Average probably 25 people a week. Um, and that's a lot of those people I mentioned. New people started showing up. Moflo was there a lot. The same people I mentioned before. LOL Glows. There's a guy named Nova, Sam Hopkins.
Oh, I remember him.
His specialty was the heart show.
Yeah.
So he showed up one day. We were trading. He said, "Put these on." I put on the stupid freaking
The fractal gun.
refractor gloves, and he's like, "Heart, heart, heart," in different colors. And I'm like, "He did it.
You did it, dude.
He,
That was freaking
he
gnarly.
mastered the refraction glove,
He
the reflector,
Yup. Yup.
refracting light glasses."
Yep.
Um, PLL Specs was there, and soon to be PLL Raven. Clumsy showed up. There was a guy named Tyler Ridley Bones. Sergio named Night Shift used to come hang out. We get a buddy named Aaron. Night Shift he's a current Glover kind of. Um, let's see some other names. Taco Sammy was around for a bit. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, one of my headphones died. A guy named Avocado. He was pretty. He made a name for himself a little bit. Uh, White Mage, Inari, and Martis. I
Oh,
think they had like a crew ABG.
yeah.
They showed up eventually and they became like part of the crew. Toasty showed up quite a bit. JJ showed up a lot. Thor started showing up at the end. He eventually became on PM. There's a guy named Mountain who at one competition he did like cowboy packs or something. A girl named Danny the Cannibal was there a lot. Finity, I'll talk a little bit more about that later. She showed up and then I eventually handed her the reins of the San Diego group.
I see.
There's a guy named Emotive.
Yeah.
Jacob, he's kind of known. Chomps used to show up. A guy named Vision Quest showed up. He did like quick mode changing. Thumper would come by. A lot of random visits from the main Glovers. Gambit, Crystals, Rhapsode, Tranquil came down quite a bit. Shorty and DK are still around. Silly Dot, she was around actually in San Diego in the early days, but then she bowed out and came back around. Jump would come around. Sire, Surge, Teddy, Whoa Big, the guy, PLL Lumi, Mumbles came down before, Abstract, just a bunch of names. Just wanted to shout people out for coming to join us. Everybody who came really made it bigger. It was always shared. We'd take a lot of videos. There's a lot of videos from San Diego in this time. A lot of people talked about it, which is really cool. Like the scene really made itself. All I did was make the event page and show up. So that's a big thing. Just showing up, making the event page.
It's crazy. I actually recognize a lot of those names. A
Yeah.
lot of those names. Yeah. So just just kind of just shows how big of an impact people
Every
from.
time, like, we're super lucky that we're SoCal, because every
Yeah.
time a big name came, I kind of knew about it, and I'd tell people, and we would get that extra amount of people, like 50, 60,
Yeah.
70 people coming to
Like,
those meetups.
wow.
Um,
Show up.
I didn't
That's
even show
freaking
up half the
awesome.
time, like for
Yeah.
years. Like I was just still making the event page, even if I wouldn't show up, and it was still going down.
Interesting.
Um, at some point, Andrew Zhao came back
Yeah.
loose. He had a Throw Lights house
Yeah.
and employed some of the DGAF people into that house.
Mhm.
So that's kind of part of San Diego someday. Throw Lights has been around, but back in the day in 2011, I actually was on his forum. He had a forum called Throw Lights,
Yeah.
and it had a chat like the gloving.com chat. And there were people like JJ and Fry and a guy named Transcend and all these random people that were on there that I eventually met.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that. Like, I actually didn't know that there was a that throw lights was a thing back in the day, right? How so?
Yeah,
Was it like kind of like Plural Life, but it was like a thing for glovers? Was it just a chat
exactly.
box? I see. I see.
Exactly. It was a forum with a chat box at the top.
Was it
We didn't
just
have
for
smartphones back
glovers?
then. So we had a
Uh,
computer
yeah.
just for glovers. There's Throw Lights.
Gotcha. How many people were on that thing?
I don't know.
Uh,
You'd have to ask him. Maybe 100.
yeah. Wow.
Active in the chat, probably like 20.
Got you. Got you. Got you. Okay. For sure, dude. Okay, so like, so 2016, the whole GGN thing happened, and then like, you had mentioned like that you had like I forgot her name, but she had taken over the reins. Was it Finity?
Hmm.
Finity? Yeah, yeah. So like could you kind of just go over like what?
Um, I'll go over parts before that. That's post COVID. That's 2020, 2021.
Oh, okay, got you, got you, got
So,
you.
so a lot of 2016 to 2018, everybody got really good. All those people that I said
Hmm.
they weren't that good before, they're all freaking pro glovers. We went to a lot of events. We went to a lot of bosses. There was like art of gloving events, IGC events. We went to everything up north. There was a UFO orbit comp. There was a thing called the PCOC. A lot of
Wait, Art of
dinner
Gloving.
parties.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off. I think I'm having a little bit of latency. But Art of Gloving was a San Diego thing.
Art. So these we didn't really do much in San Diego other than FNL at this point.
Oh, I see.
We were going to like everything in
Oh,
like up
I
north,
see.
everything in LA, Riverside County.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, got it.
So yeah, all that happened, and then I think 2019, Sam Hopkins on his own accord kind of like started. He wanted to do stuff. So January 2019, he held the first San Diego boss.
Hmm. January
And
2019
there's a
San.
picture of this. There's like 120 plus people there. Uh, Trump was there. It's cool. Um,
Yeah.
before like a lot of events, they RFNL. So we'd go to a lot of events. We'd have a giant San Diego FNL before like every boss competition or whatever. But so 2019, Sam had that boss, and that was 120 plus people there. Mumbles won that one. I lost to
Hmm.
Mumbles. I think Krusty went against Mumbles in the finals.
Hmm.
We had free tacos, so that was really dope.
Free tacos is always dope.
NorCal for each, like we had three bosses total, and NorCal would always come down. They'd have a house, and there would always be like a party at their house, which is really dope. Um, I guess we had a boss in June of 2019, and I wasn't there, but
Uh-huh.
Starlight won that one.
Oh, that's the one against Mumbles.
Wait, what's up?
I think she went up against Mumbles in that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then January of 2020, we had one more boss. Jest was there, Trump was there. Um, at the finals, I went up against Abyss, who was a NorCal Glover,
Hmm.
and he won. So that was my only chance to ever win a boss, and I lost.
This feels bad, man.
But that was a 64 competitor boss. So
Wow.
So our boss was really big. Like
Yeah.
that's just competitors. So there's another 100 plus boss.
And you guys were running Swiss, right? During all
Yeah,
those bosses? Damn, bro, that's a long time.
it's a lot of light shows. But
Yeah, that is.
Sam did a great job. I think Sam did a great job for all that, and he killed it.
So
And we also had like in between, we had Renegade comps, which were like at FNL, we'd
in
have little
between.
competitions.
Wow.
And at the same time, he was also having like he was like hosting underground raves, which is kind of like underground. He wasn't like hosting, but he was like involved in them.
Yeah.
But they were like kind of like a mythical being in San Diego scene. I feel like I've always heard you go park in a neighborhood, walk a mile, jump a fence into the gutter, go into the tunnel, take a left instead of a right when it splits, and then all of a sudden you're in this underground, literally underground rave.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I've never been, but it sounds like a mythical beast to me. That I've seen videos.
Whoa, dude. And Sam held this?
He was involved.
Yeah.
His
Holy
he,
shit.
the he was involved with a lot of the underground people, and they helped with venues for Boss actually. So
And there's
Sam did
like a whole
Sam did a great
rave
job.
gloving ecosystem.
Hmm. And then we went to 4KC. So all these events in this time, I have like pictures of like Glovers and uh, with their shirts on and everything. Like it always goes back to the pictures and videos are really important, at least to me,
Absolutely.
because you see those and you're like you're hyped.
Yeah.
I think having your team names and your name and the event and the time, I think all that's important for like the new generation to pick up
Yeah.
because that's always stuff.
Especially because we don't have them as much anymore. You know, it's kind of the glimpse in the past. Not even a fraction of the events that happen now are even comparable to what it was like back then. Every community had reoccurring things all the time, and that's kind of hard to fathom when you're starting out today.
Yeah. So after 4KC, that was kind of like COVID hit,
Mhm. And then
and
what?
then nothing really happened. I
Mm,
mean, everybody's chilled. Um, I kind of like personally was like, oh, when COVID like blows over, I don't really want to be like still waving my fingers around.
mm.
Obviously, I'm back, but uh, I took a good break until 2023. So I kind of asked who wanted to like take the reins. Finity did. Um, her name's Jazz. Uh, Andrew Zhao's around. I think Pinky wants to do stuff in the future. They
Yeah.
had like a Renegade comp recently, which is like one of our little comps, but we haven't. They haven't been meeting too much. Not like before.
What
Everybody kind of just is doing their thing.
What about Jasmine? Because like when I talked about, I was sent to Jasmine for like the whole because I'm doing the whole Power 10 ranking system, right? Because local regional ranking system. So I got basically told to communicate with her. But what is she like in the gloving community? Because it seems like she's the one hosting the Renegade comps or like the.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. Jazz Finity.
Oh,
I
that's right. I see. That's the same
think
person.
they had one
Got it.
Renegade.
Got it.
They've had one Renegade comp since,
Got it. Got it.
and
That
that was
makes
like this year maybe.
got you. Got you. Okay, for sure. That's really cool.
So I think after COVID, it's kind of been open ended.
Yeah.
There's space for someone to kind of like take the reins and really like do a lot.
Yeah. And Jazz, it's
Uh,
kind of. Do you think is Jazz been kind of the one to fill those shoes in?
um, from what I've seen, it's not as consistent like
Mm,
before because like a lot of the people have just gone off to do different things,
right.
including myself. Um, Zhao's here. He has throw lights. I'm pretty sure like if ever anybody ever wants stuff in San Diego, he'll hook them up. But um, everybody still has their affiliation with whoever.
Yeah.
But there's really not much going on in San Diego.
So yeah, not much going on in San Diego right now, but people are in talks of having stuff happen. Man, like as I'm kind of just going through all this stuff right now, it seems like it seems like California, like as a whole, has been so incredibly lucky with like people, having a space for people to glove to, whether that be through company place or like college campuses or amazing lights or whatever. There's always been just a how do I say, a controlled area or a controlled place where people can go and glove to, that like, finding that community ran event at, like, let's say a park or something like that, that's not something that would happen much, right?
Um, well, it's weird because actually with GGN and the group, a
Yeah,
lot of people found their way into our group that were not connected to the gloving community at all.
yeah,
And
yeah,
a lot of people are just hanging out, going to raves, wanting to learn more, see some light shows, hang out.
yeah.
And um, the crowd is a lot older now.
Hmm.
I think that's what's missing for the future is like we don't have those 15, 16, 17-year olds coming in as
Oh
much.
yeah, absolutely.
I think I think it might start coming back, but COVID was a real weird thing.
Yeah, it'll probably take like a couple of years. Like even in Hawaii, there's like younger generations, like guys who are like in their 20s who are just new. I'm like, what the hell? Like, who are you? And they're like really good. You know what I mean? I think it'll take a couple of years for like those younger generations to kind of like, we might even start seeing communities being started out of nowhere now because they are newer, and they're the connection between back then and then now, it's a little bit harder to find. So I wholeheartedly believe that like we'll start to see newer communities born. But I can only hope for the best, dude. Like, but it but during the whole GGN thing, where were all those things hosted?
So it's hosted in Balboa Park, which is actually really old
Okay,
in San Diego.
got it. They were
Um,
held at. Got it. Sick.
it's kind of like off to the side of the park. So like
Mhm.
if you're wandering to a random corner called the Rose Garden, you would have found us there hanging out.
For sure.
And when we started going there were bums sleeping in our spot. Somebody actually like posted in that a post in the chat or in the group. I asked like, "Oh, anybody have any good memories?" And this guy's like, "That one time the bum photoshopped or photo bombed our picture." And he posted the picture, and it was hilarious.
Bro, that's like our scene, bro. Our spot is a really nice spot, but then sometimes there's a couple bums there sleeping by the shack.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's how it be. That's
We
how
got
it
really
be.
lucky. Finding a good spot is hard. Somebody recommended that to me, and we just went with it, and it stuck for years.
How long can you guys like sesh till?
Dude, we were there until I usually set the meeting from like 8 or 9 to midnight,
Dang.
and people would
Okay.
still be there after midnight, like
Dang.
around midnight.
That's dope. That's hella dope, dude. Wow.
Like those other communities, we took the picture every week because we had meetups every week, and there was always large turn up. Everybody was down. Um, I always had a box of free whites and bats. We like they talked about being bigger communities and not mentioning San Diego, but we were like killing it in San Diego.
Yeah.
I was getting 150, $250 gift cards a month, and
Wow.
just I have so many bats and whites still.
Yeah, we
I
all
gave
do.
away so many glove sets.
We all do, bro. All the GGN leaders probably got a closet or like a box filled with the Amazing Lights whites and shit. The batteries are
Yeah,
all probably dead. I'm just gonna let you guys know right now.
maybe,
they're
maybe
they're
that's why they don't
probably
work.
weak.
What
Yeah.
if my chromas were
No, they probably lost juice in them, bro. I remember I actually used one of the older Amazing Lights batteries that I had back in the day. I'm like, yo, my light is dead right now, even though I just changed it. Those things run out of juice, bro. I mean, and they're probably sitting in the warehouse for how long prior to that,
bad?
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, dude. But okay, I think we've been at it all. We've been at it for a while. I might have to stop right here. Camera's about
I
to
know.
ring again.
I tried to rush through that end part. I was like, I don't want to miss anything, but I got to rush through this. We talked a lot.
No. Yeah, you're good, bro. And I'm sure we definitely gotta meet up once again to talk about some of like the more specific stuff because I kind of want to get more into it. Unless we pretty much went over everything you wanted to talk about.
Um, I mean, yeah, we could. I think that's good enough. I
Okay.
think somebody else should fill in SoCal because I didn't talk about anything SoCal after 2015.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure. And
um,
Cali needs a series, man. Cali
yeah,
needs a whole series.
And there's OGs before me that need to tell that story. So I only got the service.
Holy crap, dude. Yeah, I mean, gloving, like, who knows, like, when it started in San Diego, like, pre 2010, right? Like,
Like I said, EBBK, they
yeah,
said claim 2008. So,
2008, dude. That's crazy. But, dude,
so San Diego, they're going up to LA, and I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised if it was in TJ because TJ is just right over the border.
for what? What is that?
Tijuana.
Oh, I see, I see. Got you. Okay. So before I let you go, bro, like, because do you have anything that you would want to say to anybody who's perhaps trying to run a community or take up the reins for a community?
Um, take your circle of friends, make a group, invite people, do whatever you can to get people to show up. Make an event page, um, go to events, and just keep gloving. Really.
Absolutely, bro. And where can people find you on social media if they want to follow you?
In my reawakening in 2023, I kind of just wanted to move with the times, and I changed my socials to glove space, just something that's a
Ooh.
little more accessible. Like if you look up glove or gloving, maybe I'll come up. So TikTok and Instagram, I'm glove space. YouTube, TMoney Zero, you can see stuff from all the way back to 2011. Um, Puppet Masters, PM Puppet Masters, of course, on YouTube and Instagram. Check just if you want to learn about anything, hit me up. Go to the Glover's Lounge, search my name, use your name in the Glover's Lounge so you could search your own name someday. And
That's a really good tip. That's a really good tip. Yeah, man. Dude, T Money, thank you so much for doing this with me, man. And really respect for all your years of service and duty for the community. You have a great one, brother. Have a good day.
hey, you too. Thanks for having me.